talking about what wellness looks like for a cyclist and the kind of riding that we like to do. Long haul stuff, rides. I'm not talking about racing here, okay? We're talking people that want to ride a bike for the rest of their lives and not have it hurt or have to dread going out on the bike because you're going to have to deal with that same old thing that's been bugging you for so long. But I'm going to be talking about what wellness looks like for an endurance cyclist today. I'm Dr. Deb. I have a business called Bike and Body. It's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I do, hey! And we opened about 5 years ago. We'll have our 5-year celebration this next spring in 2023. Giant block party to be guaranteed, so stay posted. But basically out of the office, I do half and half bike fitting and physical therapy. So bike fitting is my specialty as a doctor of physical therapy, and I'm going to talk about what the overall picture looks like of wellness for a cyclist. And this is not speaking from like a cycling coaching standpoint. I'm not a cycling coach. This is not speaking from a nutritionist standpoint. I'm not a nutritionist, but I'm a physical therapist, and I've been doing specializing in bike fitting for about 10 years now. And this speaks a lot from experience and what I've seen with my fit clients over the years and my physical therapy clients who are also cyclists. So heading into the off-season, our Midwestern off-season, it's really important to reflect back on what happened, what we did, what goals did we achieve, what hardships did we overcome, and what were those hurdles we just couldn't get over. I hope that some of these things that I speak of today resonate with you, and they give you just little light bulbs as to, oh, I think I can add that to my overall training regimen as an endurance-focused cyclist. We're very close to Green Bay, so I figured this was a good quote, but hey, this stuff takes work. Proper wellness practice just in life, let alone being a cyclist. Proper wellness practice doesn't happen overnight. It's like and it even changes with age, right? So you might have your wellness practices down for when you're in your 20s. You hit your 30s, you're like, I'm working more, I don't have as much time to do that. Hit your 40s, probably more of the same, maybe you have more kids, something like that. And then you get later on, 50s, 60s, 70s, you hit new challenges, right? So this is, just to drive that point home, this is always changing, and it's not ever something that you should stop working towards, that ultimate wellness as a cyclist. And the reason why I chose this topic this year is because I really love, and I'm guessing lots of you feel the same way, cycling is one of those sports that you can literally do the rest of your life. It's gonna change a little bit, it's gonna maybe look a little bit different as we age, but I mean, most people can't run for the rest of their lives, with a few genetically gifted exceptions. Like, I don't know, that guy, that gal over there. But we can do it for the rest of our lives. We just need to take care of our bodies and not overdo it when we're so young. So, think about this. You can think about it to yourself if you want. Or shout it out. Be as vibrant and dynamic as you'd like to be. I want to talk with you guys too. What do you train for? Are you super, super, super serious? Are you aiming to like win and beat yesterday every day? Okay, maybe. But I feel like the majority of the folks here at this event, our 2,999 closest friends that are here, we want to just ride a bike, we want to ride it well, we want to feel good, and then we want to eat really good food and maybe have a beverage when we're done, right? So think about this just in your brain. Why do you ride a bike? It's a very contemplative self-question, but why do you ride a bike? It could be a list of 25 different things, right? And it probably is. I know my list is very long. We know these, right? What are the benefits of aerobic exercise? We use our bikes to decrease our anxiety. And the second part, decrease sensitivity to pain. Well, that can be kind of a blessing and a curse, right? Right? Oh, I didn't feel that, and all of a sudden I have an open wound on my ass. You know? Like, it's probably not the best idea, but it's a side benefit of cycling. You know, the feel-good chemicals that are stimulated when we're out on a bike and riding longer and faster than we ever had, or we're in a pace line and we're just like, this is amazing, I want to do this every day. And we know all these other things. It combats all those diseases that we get checked up at the doctor every year for. When I sat down and think about what I thought wellness looked like for an endurance cyclist, these are the 7 things I came up with. And when we're done here, I want to hear, you know, you can shout it out when we're done, or I'll talk to you afterwards, but I want to hear what you might have to add to this. First off, a smart training program. For the majority of the recreational riders out there, you don't need to have this like 20 hours a week, every day planned out specifically training program. I mean, it would be like a part-time job, right? We'll leave that to the people that are competing. But what I mean by a smart training program is you got to have some framework to your riding and to how many miles you put into your training volume, and how intense you are and how often you are intense like that. So listening to your body and actually building in a rest day into your training, which lots of us are just like, when's the last time you took a break? When's the last time you took a week off of your bike? I would never. I'd feel like such a slug.
Okay.
Yeah, well, off season is coming up in Wisconsin, so I would recommend you take a minimum of a week off of your bike. I don't mean sit on your butt. I mean do other things like walking, hiking, yoga, strength training, whatever you need to do. But anyway, smart training program. Second one, professional bike fit. Don't do it the week before an event. Like, you know, call your local bike fitter up with lots of months in advance so your body has time to adapt to the fit. Milan, you did it right. You did it right. Proper on-bike and off-bike nutrition and hydration. I'm going to be giving very general tips here because, again, I'm not a dietitian. This is all from personal experience. Off-bike conditioning program, that's definitely something I'm trained in. Off-bike body self-care. Think about like the tools that you might have at home, or like the different like stretches that you do, but lots of that is like kind of tool driven these days, right? Healthy sleep habits, healthy skin habits. I'm going to go through all these things in a little bit more detail. So, what does a smart training program look like? Like I said, for the average recreational cyclist, you don't have to have like a training program planned out to a T, but what I would really like to see with my clients that come through my door, I want to see that they're varying their type of focus for their training ride. How many people do you know, or do you do it yourself? Do you just go out and you're like, I'm going to do 35 again and I'm going to beat yesterday. I'm going to beat my time. You can't do that every time. And if you do that every time, you're going to end up feeling like really, really drained in your legs, and you're going to feel like, I don't know, I call it lead legs. Your legs just feel like lead and you can't push through them at all. They feel fatigued, drained. So the 5 different, at the bottom of the slide, the 5 different types of training, those are the 5 like general categories of training sessions you could pick from. And they all have their different emphasis, but they're all coming together to be necessary to make you the best cyclist you can be. So if anything, I strongly encourage that, like, you know, have you ever been to like a personal training gym and they throw down a deck of cards? And they say, all right, we're doing the deck of cards workout today. And it'll say like different exercises on each card. Make a deck of cards with this and just be like, boom, okay, today's threshold training day. Ugh. But at least just vary it up. And then the 2 above that, if you actually follow some framework to your training program, you're going to avoid overtraining, which is like overstressing your tissues, basically. Your training volume, or how many miles you put in / how intense it is gonna be planned so that you don't overload your tissues and end up with an overuse injury. And then the top thing, structure, that kind of goes hand in hand with what I just said. So, built-in recovery days. What are those? Built-in recovery days. Hey, buddy. Incorporates a regular warm-up, cool-down. Also, how many here do a regular warm-up and cool-down on their bike before they go for a ride? I see one hand. Come on. Yes, there we go. Perfect. Perfect. So super relaxing, right? Have you ever just gone around the block after your ride and just like tooled around for 10 minutes at the super lowest intensity you could? There's your cool down. Warming up though, high cadence, high pedal stroke, low power, low resistance. Warming your heart up, warming your tissues up to prepare for exercise. You're gonna hurt yourself or put yourself in a super weird position on the bike for the rest of the ride if you don't warm up appropriately, because you won't be recruiting the proper muscles well, okay? All right. This is a very well-known cycling coach, and he talks about, well, these are some quotes from him. Don't ramp up the hours like a lunatic. Only increase your training by 30 to 60 minutes per week. Now, if anyone's ever done like a half marathon or marathon build-up, you usually increase your long run every week by 1 mile or so. This is like the cycling equivalent, okay? Do not make all your sessions high intensity. Don't go out every ride and say, beat yesterday, which God bless your motivation, but it's gonna catch up to your body. And then steady endurance work should form the bulk of your training. That's absolutely true. If your goal is longevity and comfort. Comfort doesn't mean you're not performing well, by the way. Don't think that. All right. Hey, so this is point number 2, get your bike fit. You don't need to come to Bike and Body in Milwaukee. You can if you want to, I would love to see you. But get your bike fit somewhere by a professional certified bike fitter. It's a game changer. How many here have had a professional bike fit? Yay, okay, good. This is definitely something that's getting to be more of a norm. And you know, there's so many different reasons why I see someone for a fit, but really, honestly, there doesn't need to be a reason. If you ride a bike, regardless of your ability, regardless of your goal, you should get a bike fit, and you deserve a bike fit. All right? A bike shop fit versus a clinical fit. I think this is a super important point because it's like, you don't have to, there's a lot of people that do really well with a standard bike shop fit, which is usually patterned off of like an expensive computer system that has sensors you put on your body. The computer reads the sensors and then tells your body where to be in space. As a clinical fitter, a PT fitter, I do all my measurements right on your body. The computer's here, and then I look a lot at your mechanics, because that's it. As PTs, that's what we're trained to do. So we have those eyes. I use lasers. Ooh, lasers. I use lasers and then motion capture if I need to, but that's about as like technology focused as I get. In 2023, I am going to start doing some saddle pressure mapping in my office, so that'll be a nice addition. But for the most part, it's a lot of very organic discussion back and forth. I want to hear about your experience. What do you want to feel better? What doesn't feel right? Or do you just feel like you're not getting the amount of power you should be getting out of your legs? Like, I'm strong, why can't I catch up, or why can't I keep up with these people? You know what I mean? So, bike shop fit versus clinical fit. If you've had a bike shop fit and you don't feel like you're getting as much out of your riding as you should, or if you're literally having pain too, give me a call or somebody like me, a clinical fitter, and we can troubleshoot that a bit deeper usually than a bike shop can. And remember, a fit is always evolving. So a bike fit is never a fit for life. Do you just go to the dentist once in your life? That'd be really gross, right? So I recommend if you you need to get a new fit if you've updated your equipment, new saddle, new seat post, different handlebars, which could have a different reach or a different drop or a different angle or width to them. Change in your fitness level. Okay, either way, injury and surgery, that's probably pretty obvious, right? You might need to temporarily change your fit to get over an injury, and then you can maybe work to getting it back to where it was. And then just if you have, like, in general, a change in your riding goal or in your focus, like maybe you get a bug in your butt and you're just like, I want to do crits this year. Well, it's time to get a fit, because your Door County Century bike fit is probably not going to be quite as appropriate for doing, you know, Cat 5 racing at Toad or something in Milwaukee. So all those are reasons to get a fit. If you don't have any of these things happen, I recommend about every 2 years calling your fitter and saying, hey, can I just come in for a checkup? And it can be a very quick session. It can be 20 to 30 minutes. Yeah, everything looks pretty good. No new issues. Great, awesome. Enjoy your season. So just to drive that point home. Okay, disclaimer, I'm not a dietitian, but I do know that putting stuff in your body that your body can recognize, okay, the more pure ingredients, the more wholesome ingredients, your body's gonna know it better, it's gonna perform better with it. Avoid a low-carb diet when you're doing any sort of endurance training. Lots of people, I think, maybe get on this kick where they're like, maybe they're on a weight loss plan, and they follow a really extreme low-carb diet, and then they end up really habitually bonking on their bike. You need carbs to go a long way. Carbs are our fuel for the long haul. And when we go long, like tomorrow, lots of people will do the 100. You also need fats and protein when you go that long. But carbs are the things that are gonna fuel you for your aerobic exercise in general. So I would not skimp on them, just make good choices. Drinking water, staying hydrated, we also know this, right? I think it's an excellent habit. I personally do it. I don't put anything down my gullet in the morning before there's about 12 ounces of water in there. You get dehydrated while you sleep. Put water in before you sip your coffee and before you have whatever. And then, drink water regularly throughout your day. In general, on the bike, tomorrow, if it's greater than a 1 hour effort, which for most people it will be, right? You gotta eat. You can't just go through and just drink electrolyte fluid and have a banana. You gotta actually eat real food. And you're gonna drink about a water bottle an hour. Tomorrow, I think the challenge will be that it's gonna be a little colder, and we're not gonna feel as thirsty, but you still gotta make sure you keep drinking. So keep an eye on your water intake and make sure you get about a bottle down every hour and a half or so. And then add electrolytes if it's greater than 1 hour effort, which it will be, or if it's very hot. We will not have the very hot, but hey, we can find the joy in everything. Like a northerly wind on the second half. Yes. All right. This is also just a nice little note here. Seek a sports nutritionist or a registered dietitian if you're regularly feeling drained and you just feel like you're on the dragon wagon all the time. If you're not meeting your performance goals, okay? Are they unrealistic, or are they actually, is there a legit physical body reason, input maybe, in your diet that you're not getting your performance that you'd like? Or if you have a unique medical condition, I'm talking one of the biggest things is diabetes. So say you're like a type 1 or type 2 diabetic, you really have to make sure that you watch your blood sugar levels and you learn how to fuel your body to avoid any sort of diabetic emergency. So, yes. Okay, off-bike conditioning program. In-season versus off-season. So off-season in general can mean lots of things, but I think here regionally, what it means is you are taking anywhere from a week to 2 weeks off your bicycle, still being active in the meantime, before you head into a different type of riding. Like a lot of people are gonna head into like cross season, or like, oh, I'm gonna do more mountain biking because I'm not in the wind on the road, or fat biking. So I would recommend, after you do your big event, if this is your last big event of the outdoor cycling season, or if you're a year-round cyclist, if this is your last big event for road this year, I'd recommend taking like a week off, okay? And like still be active, like I said, walk, hike, yoga, lightly strength train still if you like in the gym, if that's something you do. But it's important to just give your body just a little bit of a break. When does your off season start? I mentioned that after you complete your A event. Or if you see any of those other things happening in your life, you start to think, oh, I have to ride today, or instead of I get to ride today. So, right, exactly. So you should feel excited and mostly motivated to get on that bike. Persistent injuries, of course, that's a given. I don't want people to battle that all season and then have that affect their season the whole time. You should never ride through You should never ride through pain. This is always a very tricky subject. If something is very transient, and there's something you can do to make it go away, it's okay. But something that you literally end up dreading, like, oh, that's gonna come back today, ooh, I might have to stop early. Please call somebody such as a physical therapist to address that. And then if you just see like a major decline in your performance, like you're just not getting out of your legs what you want to, that should be a time to maybe take a week or two off and you'll be so refreshed. All right, off-bike conditioning program. It's really not, I think it's for our level of riding, like recreational. If you're competing, you have to keep up your strength training all year round. It just looks a little different in each phase of training. But for the average recreational road rider, it's a lot of this stuff is done very sporadically throughout the season, and then you hit more strengthening stuff in the off season. You get strong again, right? Ideally speaking, during the season, you still should be strength training like twice a week. That would be ideal, so you don't get weak in other spots that you don't necessarily use on the bike. So core. It's important that you feel your core on the bike. How many people can feel their core working when they push on a bike? Yes, it's beautiful. It needs to happen. It puts us together from here to here. We have to be one unified body on the bike. Glute strength. Cycling is primarily driven by the quads, right? It's a trick question. So the glutes are the biggest, most powerful muscle in our body. So actually, if you're talking about power output, oftentimes the glutes can overcome the quads, unless you're like a track cyclist that has like quadzilla quads. But to get your glutes strong will absolutely increase your power on the bike. And you should feel your glute working every time you come up and over the pedal stroke. Every time. And if you don't, and you just feel your quad, then there's some off-bike glute strengthening that can happen. I'm happy to talk to you guys about this in detail afterwards too. But single leg strength and control. If your knee ever hits the top tube of your bike when you're riding, you might need to be doing this. So if you're coming up and over and it comes in a little bit and it hits that tube in between, it's a very common thing because you're so fixed on a bike, and in order to put so much power through the pedal on a fixed machine, you really have to have the stability and the control to keep it in the right plane. And it's very easy to deviate from that. So it's great to do single leg strength and control stuff off the bike. And then, I mean, this is the thing, I'm guilty of this. Throughout the cycling season, my upper body gets all shrinky. I try to be better about it, but ideally speaking, it's best to keep up shoulder stabilizers, rotator cuff strength, all this stuff back here. This is all the stuff that really holds us up on a bike, right? If you push harder on a bike, you can feel even more demand here because every time you push, these are the muscles that are keeping us stable at our spine. If these didn't work, every time we push through the pedal, we'd start to do this, which we see at like, mile 65 or 70 or 75 tomorrow, right? The curl, the progressive curl of the trunk. And then this. All right. Okay, so these are the toys. These are the toys. Lots of these have become very, very, very popular. Foam roller, trigger point balls, Theracane, massage gun, compression boots. What else do you have? What do you use?
Balance ball.
Yes, exactly. So that would be like more like a stability exercise tool. This is literally what I'm talking about here is working on your tissues. So if you're using your tissues a lot, or if there are certain tissues that are shortened when you're on a bike, you're going to want to make sure that you keep those muscle fibers nice and loose, and so they don't get stuck together. Like, you don't want ropes and knots in your muscles. These are the things that keep those out. Compression boots, that clears any sort of swelling out of your leg, and that will essentially improve your recovery after a ride. Massage gun, those things feel great. Any of these things here are all about, the top four are all about actually working on your muscles and tissues, which needs to be done, or else you end up like one giant ropey mess. You'll have ropes everywhere in your body. Ropes meaning trigger points, right? bike body self-care, these are not the tools. Now these are the people. These are the professionals that you seek out to help your body better prepare for what you want to do. Or to help you with an overuse injury that's nagging all year round.